Hey, everybody. It's Monday, and here we are talking about a haunting.
2 minutes late, too. Jenny yelling at me.
Well, you know.
'Cause I had to go get some ice.
Well, like I said, it's like I never know what he's doing, and it's just kind of like, and he always like waits until the absolute last minute, and then he's just like wanders off, and I don't know where he went.
No,
and I'm
I was
just
doing
like,
all kinds of stuff, man.
am I gonna start the show without you?
I'm juggling ice supply, sugar.
Well, you should have done that like a long time ago.
He's trying to make a schedule for me.
Well, hey, the rest of the world has to like live on its schedule.
It happens.
So it's like you need to learn to do that shit too. We're all prepared. What are you doing? You're just like wandering around.
Okay.
But yeah. So so this is an episode that we talked about before, way the hell back on episode 47.
Yeah.
I think it might have been. But you know, we liked this one a lot, and we wanted to cover it again. Because it's kind of unusual in the annals of a haunting. Plus, it has the "Where's That Raccoon Dude?"
Yeah, he's in it.
Actor. That's it. I had totally forgotten that he was in. He's not in it much, but you know, it's not like a star turn like The Haunting of Summerwind was.
Yeah, he plays the husband.
So he gets to be like a little bit. He gets to have like a little bit of a rant in this, where he's like yelling about the
ghost stories.
Well, he's yelling about the electric bill first,
Too,
and then I was just kind of like, "Does this have anything to do with the raccoon, sir?"
Yeah.
Because I think like it might have something to do.
He's one of those. Look, man, I don't have time for ghosts. All right, I gotta work.
To be fair, I'm kind of.
Tell me about what the ghost does. I gotta go back to work. He's one of those guys. But
yeah, he was
it's about
just
this family that moves to Taiwan, and they seem pretty credible. You know, upper class family. They go to Taiwan for some business arrangement that the husband has. With what kind? I forgot what kind of company it was. Do you remember?
I don't think they ever mentioned
really
it,
say
to be
it,
honest. If they did, I didn't write it down.
Yeah. The matriarch of the family, she said that Taiwan was a lawless country.
I think we laughed about that the first time.
Like, you don't know Brazil.
I was like, of all the lawless countries in the world, I'm like pretty sure Taiwan is like close to the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been there, but just from my own perception,
It might be able to get wild.
it's like.
But fucking, I grew up partially in Brazil, man, and that was a narco tyranny. It was anarchy. All right, that was lawless there. No, fucking Taiwan.
I just never imagined being.
I think she just meant that it wasn't the laws she was used to.
Well, because I kind of feel like no hate against the people. This was a long time ago, but I don't know. I kind of feel like they came across as a little bit prissy to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, rich people. Well,
yeah, like they were very, very used to a specific way of life, and anything other than that, they were like, "Ew."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were kind of like that, like, "Ew, the poor." They kind of came across like that to me. Maybe not. Maybe they're lovely people. I don't know. But that was just like the impression that I got. You know, I'm very sensitive to that because I grew up like really poor, and I even went to school with like some people that weren't even as rich as these people, but they had that kind of like thing toward, like, if you live in a trailer park or you have secondhand shoes or some shit like that, they're very, ew, a poor, they're very much like that. So I'm very like alert to that kind of attitude. You know what I mean? And that's how these people kind of came across. Like I said, I don't know them, but you know what I mean?
I'm indifferent to everything. I don't care what other people say.
No, I'm just saying, I don't care about it either. Yeah. It's just that you recognize it. That's what I mean. You recognize that tone. Like, even if people are trying to be nice to you, there's always like that hint of condescension.
I just always, I went to school with people like that, when I was up in Brazil, the Escola Graduada de São Paulo. It's the fucking most expensive high school in Brazil. President of Brazil's kids go there, and the fucking ex-king of Brazil's kids go in there. He would have been king. His name is Luis. I got pictures of him in my yearbook. Anyway, what's funny is that the real rich ones weren't like that. It was the ones that were kind of the poorer of the rich people were like that. The real rich people were like gangsters. They didn't give a shit. But I don't know. I'm getting off track. But I'm just saying.
Yeah. What else is he?
I'm just saying that it never impressed me. It was always a sign of, it was just another version of being parochial. That's all it was. Sheltered, parochial, and not really exposed to anything outside a very small sphere. So they have money and they education and sophistication, but not very much experience with anything, you know. So if it's outside,
well, they're shielded from a lot of things
Yeah.
in the world that most other people have to experience and have to like fight their way through. I remember hearing about this because I read there's a great book called Watching the English, which is written by a British woman, and she's writing about English culture as though she's like an anthropologist, you know what I mean? And like talking about all their little traditions and stuff. And one of the things that she mentioned was that even though the class system is like, you know, rather prevalent in the UK, she's like, people that have like a shit ton of money are just kind of like, they just drive old beater cars. It's like, they don't give a shit. They're like, it's always the people that are a tier or two down from that that are the worst, because they're the ones that are aspirational, and they have like things to prove to other people, like, look how rich I am, you know what I mean? Like, so it's that kind of thing.
That's basically what I said.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, people that have always had money, and you know that they don't really have the need to like prove it to anybody.
It's like a burden to them. They don't give a shit.
So it's that. But like I said, I mean, you know, we kind of got far afield, but I did kind of
people are just starting to come in anyway.
Just that comment that the woman made on this show about Taiwan being lawless, I just thought that was very funny. Now, I think they did, I don't think they went all that into this, but I'm pretty sure they mentioned that they had moved, they're an American family, but they had moved from Tokyo. So they had been living in Tokyo, and then moved to Taiwan because his job, like, he got a transfer or something like that. So, but I don't know, compared to Japan, Taiwan is lawless? I don't really know.
I think Taiwan might be corrupt. There's probably things like prostitution and shit that's kind of technically illegal, but they still do it. They do that everywhere.
But, like, they do that everywhere, though. Like, that's no more lawless than any other place.
Right. I know that there was, like, some terrorism where some guys took some people hostage, but that happens, and you know, and then they shot it out with the police.
That also happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere. You know, being an American, she should be used to shit like that. That shit happens all the time here. Just it's always far away. People don't realize how. People don't live here don't realize how far away all that shit is from you. You don't see it. You know, it's always in some other state. Very rarely do you see it up close. Although that Pulse shooting happened up the street from us.
Yeah, and we were actually out that.
We were out that.
That was just like 2 blocks away.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird.
But
it just comes and goes. It's just the way it is.
Zach says, I couldn't watch this one as a kid because of the big-ass spiders, and I still hate it. Yeah, there's a lot of tarantulas in this one.
This is a good case. I think it's credible. The claims are not real
not real outlandish.
They're not real outlandish. It's a bad house is what they're talking about. And it's bad enough to where there's an entity there of some sort, or at least it appears to be an entity, making voices. It calls the girls, and I guess it infers that it sexually assaults one of the girls.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that's what they were implying. I mean, it seemed like that's what they were implying, but it's like I could just be like reading into it, maybe.
That ghost had more than one kind of hunger.
I guess so. Well, that was kind of the whole premise of the thing, was that they were kind of going into a little bit, like in Asian cultures, I guess, they have something called hungry ghosts. I've also seen this called hungry demons, which I don't... Because when I looked it up, I was like, I never heard it called that, but maybe it's called that in other countries. It's called hungry ghosts
in Korea, they had a thing called baby ghost.
Yeah.
Baby ghost. Those are the babies that got thrown up on the mountains because they're discarded babies. Late-term abortion. Just throw them out. Baby
which
ghost.
Which is fucked up.
Yeah,
but,
Kim. Katusa, I was working with, named Kim. He curled up on the ground next to me. Fucking, we were up in those mountains. He's fucking shivering. And I said, "It's not cold, man." He goes, "Scared." I said, "What are you scared of?" Baby ghost. It's like, what? Baby ghost. He tried to fucking explain it. And I just let the shit fucking fly. He says, "You trying to go home?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "You want to go home?" "Yeah." "You miss your mama, don't you?" "Yeah." He's just like that, you know. Later on, I told Corporal Sung about it. Says, he's talking about baby ghost, man. What the fuck is a baby ghost? He goes, "Oh, baby ghost, yeah." And he explained it to me. But Corporal Sung explained it to me. Kim couldn't tell me what a baby ghost was. He just said his English wasn't good enough at that time. But interesting story. This is the hungry ghost, which is it's an Asian ghost that wants something, it can't get it. Somebody dies in a tragic situation and something was unresolved. But I think that's probably all ghosts would end up being
well,
the hungry ghosts.
That's what I mean. I don't really know why.
Yeah.
I think just specifically what they were saying was that hungry ghosts, like, not only died in a violent way or there's unresolved issues, which, like you said, is probably like most ghost stories.
It's all ghost stories.
But I think that they were implying that these particular ghosts were mad, maybe that they were not alive anymore and they still wanted things that they would have wanted when they were living, like food and money and things like that. Because that's how you apparently try to appease them, is you bring them shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you bring them a pineapple, or you bring them, like, because the priest come and he had a pineapple. It's like, here, ghosts, have a pineapple. This will sort you right out.
Well, they do it in Brazil too. They leave out little offerings and stuff, you know, in macumba.
Give them some money. It's like, what is a ghost gonna do with money?
It's spiritual money.
They're gonna go to McDonald's and get a fillet of fish.
Cigarettes.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Playing cards. Chicken. You know, and it'd be like a whole chicken, dead chicken in there. What is it you said? Booze. There's like a bottle of wine there. Yeah, giving them stuff. The money, though, a lot of times it's not real money. It's like fake money.
Like Monopoly money.
Like Monopoly money. Kind of deal. You know, you little kids can buy play money.
Yeah.
It's like that. That's usually what's in there. But the food and the cigarettes are real.
Yeah, I've seen that. Well, because they do that on Day of the Dead, too, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
In Mexico, where they leave, like, food and stuff
Food,
out.
cigarettes, and a chicken. Yeah. You know, inside a bowl. They might have some chicken blood thrown over it, depending on whatever the situation is. Each one is a different recipe. Depending on what they're trying to do. Pack of playing cards.
Somebody needs to open, like, a ghost diner.
What's that?
You know what I mean? Somebody needs to open, like, a ghost diner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of, like, the theme, is that you're supposed to, like, ghosts are supposed to come in there and eat.
I've seen musical instruments, you know, like a harmonica or a flute or a kid's ukulele, you know, stuff like that in there.
Yeah, I've seen all that kind of stuff, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just like leave them. So, well, like I said, it makes sense, you know. It's a dead person, and it's like they're kind of still around. It's not. They just went through the veil, you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're still like the same person, so they'd still like the same shit, I guess.
Giving them knickknacks in the spirit world to keep them busy. That goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. They'll go into the little tombs of pharaohs and even just workers and stuff, and they'll have little clay representations of servants and horses and clay representations of food, sometimes real food, you know.
It's like, here, play with this shit in here and, like, don't haunt us, okay?
Pictures of stuff, you know, that becomes real in the afterlife when they need it, that kind of stuff.
Like, no, it's magical, for sure. So yeah. Like I said, this is Season 2, Episode 6. And we did talk about this before, like I said, a long time ago, but that was before we had a visual component. Like before we could make gestures at you and stuff like that. So we thought we would just revisit. Because, you know, we have a lot of episodes still that we haven't done. But, I don't know. People seem to like the older ones. Like, especially, like, the first 4 or 5 seasons. And I know we've done most of those, but...
They're the iconic ones, man. Classic ones.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like maybe we should be revisiting some of the ones that we did. Like, with our better sound and all that kind of business.
Yeah.
But now I will say that there's not a lot of other supplemental material about this particular case. I couldn't really find anything, like, other than somebody posting on Reddit or some forum somewhere, like, back in 2009, asking about whatever happened to this family. But, like, nobody ever knew anything about it, so I don't really know, you know, if there's any other supplemental material. If they told their story, it didn't look like anybody had written a book about it or anything like that, so... Just telling you that right now.
It makes some interesting guests, probably.
Probably. I mean, you know, how long ago was this show?
Oh, at least 15 years.
Huh? It had to have been because Season 2, that was probably like a long time ago. And like I said, some of the messages that I saw about it were from way back in 2009, so it must have aired before that, I'd imagine. What was it? 2007, I think, was Season 2, maybe. But apparently they're using their real names, but I guess they're the Bishop family. That's their last name. So Dennis is the dad, and Candace was the mom.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening, this actually took place way the hell back in 1984. So I guess the company that Dennis worked for, it was an American company apparently, but they had offices like all throughout Asia. And I guess prior to this, they had been living in Tokyo because I'm assuming that's where he worked before. But then he got asked to transfer to Taipei, like in Taiwan. So they go there, and it's like, what do they call it? The Yangming Mountains? That's where the house was. I think that's what I wrote down. And, yeah, he was basically like, well, it was kind of a thing where you could turn the promotion down, but if you did, they'd probably be like, well, you're fired or you're not getting more money or something like that. So he kind of felt the need to take it. So they moved to Taiwan. Like I said, it's Dennis and Candace. They're the mom and dad. And then they had 2 kids, Stacy, who at the time was 16, and Marissa, who at the time was 12. I will say that the girl, the actress that they had playing Marissa, I think she was a little bit older than 12. She looked like
she was,
but she was supposed to be 12 years old.
Yeah, I was going, boy, that girl's awful immature. But then I realized that she's supposed to be 12.
Yeah, I think the actress was a couple years older.
Yeah, she's probably about 16, 17,
something like that. Yeah. But yeah, she was playing a 12-year-old. Yeah, and then I wrote down Taiwan was lawless, which I thought was very funny. Yeah, because that, I don't know, that was just something that,
well, I know what they're talking about.
Stood out to me.
My family was doing the same kind of thing, going to Brazil for business. And a lot of my peers, their families were kind of like that because this is a long time ago in the 80s. People they didn't have YouTube. They weren't really sure what other countries were like. So there was anxiety going to work in a foreign country. And it's different over there. Hey, they don't have the same laws we have. Oh, this shit's wild, That's the attitude. Oh, is it safe to raise our kids there?
Do they have VCRs?
Yeah, that kind of shit.
Referring back to something I was talking about on Friday.
What happens if they smoke weed over there? Just that kind of shit.
Scandalous.
Yeah.
Sure.
What if things aren't illegal?
What if I see hookers walking around?
Yeah. Because I was going to the nightclubs at fucking 15. That was, you could drink at 15 in Brazil. Technically illegal. I think 18 was, but nothing is enforced. It is anarchy. Which is good. I love it. I love anarchy. Just watch your step. They fucking shoot each other over there.
Well, I mean, that's not great.
It just happens. They do that here.
Well, yeah, I know they do.
Yeah. All that wild shit you see on YouTube, them weird shootings, most of that's Brazil.
Zach says, will I have to use a squat toilet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of feel like that's sort of where I draw the line, gonna say. Get a real toilet, countries, okay? Seriously. No, it's like we've had this technology for several centuries at this point. Get your shit together. But yeah, so they'd moved in Tokyo. Now they moved to this place. Now, the company, like I said, I don't know what corporation this was, but it apparently was like super like fancy as fuck because they're like, oh, we have this company house that we let like the executives live in. Like the guy that had lived there before, I guess he didn't work there anymore or whatever, so he had fucked off. But I don't know what the actual house looked like because obviously they have like different ones like on the show. But the one they showed on the show was like a fucking palace, man. It was like a big, huge, like there was a bunch of land around it. Like it was like right at the base of the mountains. And it was this massive white, it didn't even really look like a house, to be honest with you. It kind of looked like a bank building or something.
Yeah, that's the way houses looked in Korea. Rich
that's what I'm saying.
Look like that.
And it was all glass, like on the front and everything like that. So, but yeah, so they get that, and they even have like a driver. They had like a limo and a driver and all that, which I'm assuming the company paid for as well. Which that's crazy. So they go to this house, and the dad and the daughters are all pretty jazzed about it because they're like, holy shit, like look at this amazing place, blah blah blah. But Candace, the mom, she said that she had a bad feeling about the place, like before, it looked like before she'd even like walked inside. Like everybody else was like running inside going, holy shit, look at this place, blah, blah, blah. But then she's like standing out on the front porch, like not going in. She's like, ooh, I've got a weird feeling about this. And then she said that before she even walked in, she felt what felt like a fist, like slamming hard into her back. And knocking her over. Like she didn't fall over, but knocked her off balance pretty much. So
she felt like something pushed her.
Yeah, like something shoved her, like right. with their fists. And at this point, she's just kind of like, what the fuck? Like, it felt like something pushed me. And then, like, her husband was like, where is that raccoon? But not really. It's the same actress. That's why I keep saying that. So, yeah. So she goes in, and she's immediately, I don't like this place. Like, the actress, the way that she was saying it, like, because she said it a bunch of times, like, through the episode, the actress was just, like, her inflection was just, like, very amusing to me. I don't like this place. Like she sounded very like whiny. Yeah. But so it's like, so it kept like making me laugh like every time she said it. I don't like this place. I don't like this house. Now in her defense though, I mean, yeah, like it sounded like a ghost like punched her in the kidneys or whatever. But when they go in there, like when the estate agent or whoever the fuck is like showing them the house, they said, like, the walls, and this is, like, a massive, it looks like a show place. It's, like, this big palace or something like that. I don't know what the real house looked like. But they go in there, and the walls are, like, kind of, like, fucking moldy, like, discolored and shit. And they're like, you guys have problems with, like, rain, like, leaking through the roof or some shit like that? Because this is not acceptable right here, like, especially as fancy as this fucking house is.
Yeah, what they're talking about is that in a lot of countries, the entire house, the walls are made of the concrete blocks, and then there's cement over them, and then they're painted. Real solid constructions. You don't really need air conditioning either. They stay nice and cool. So that's, well, water. If the roof is leaking, it can kind of travel down through the cement, and you can see mold growing on the cement, and it'll come out through the paint and everything. Yeah, so it's pretty common. If there's cracks, or if there's a leak in there, the leaky pipes inside the concrete walls, it'll eventually make its way to the surface. But I've seen it before. It's a nice house, but like it's a very Eastern house, one they showed in the series, or in the episode. And Jenny's right. It wasn't a Western layout. It was an Eastern layout, and it does kind of, to a Westerner, look like an office building. But it's because wealthy families in the East like that are going to be extended families. So the owner of the house is going to have his mom and possibly his dad living in there with his wife and his kids. And so it's kind of like a series of apartments inside the house is what it's like.
Which, yeah, that makes sense.
With like a central part that looks like the central part of a damn office building.
Yeah, like a hotel lobby.
Like a hotel lobby. Yes, that's a good way to describe it. Some of them are laid out kind of like hotels with lobbies and shit.
Zach says it looked like the kind of house a Tony Montana type drug lord thinks is the house a rich person lives in. Yeah, that's very astute. That is what it looked like. But I actually kind of liked the architecture of wherever this house was. Yeah, I don't know where they filmed this. I mean, I don't know if they would actually spend the money to like fly to fucking Taiwan and like film a house that was. But it did kind of look like a house, like a rich people's house from over there.
Yeah. It looked like a Korean house to me, or a rich Korean house out in the country is what it looked like.
So maybe that's what they did.
It might have been Korea.
Maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what their budget is for this kind of shit. But yeah, so they go in and like the walls are kind of fucked up, and the estate agent lady is just kind of like, oh yeah, well, it's been like a really bad rainy season, and we'll get that like fixed and all this other kind of shit. And I'm just like, yeah, you better. But at this point, Candace is still like, I don't like this house. I don't like this house, she keeps saying. So Dennis is like, okay, so you don't like this place. So how about, he's like, do you want to look for another house? And she's like, yes, please. So Dennis says that they spent the next 2 weeks looking at dozens of other houses, like all around the area. So he did actually like listen to her that she didn't like the place. But like I said, there was other shit wrong with it, like other than her getting punched in the back by a ghost or whatever. So he said, and I don't know exactly what this entails, but he said that they looked for a whole bunch of houses like over 2 weeks, dozens of houses, he said, but none of them were as good or as appropriate or whatever the hell. I don't know what was wrong with the other ones, but somehow they ended up at this particular one, which, like I said, was the company owned house. So that's where they ended up. And Candace was just like, well, this is best for her husband, and he's the one that's working and bringing in all the money, so she's just got to, like, fucking suck it up. Buttercup.
He's the bloke.
Yeah, basically. She didn't like it, but what are you going to do? So yeah. So they did that. Now, like I said, they also have a limo, which takes everybody around, and they have a guy that works for them who's, like, their driver, and I think they said his name was, Ah-Ching, or Chong, I can't remember what his name was. I wrote it down, but my handwriting is fucked up because I was writing it right.
Ching. His name is Ching,
or something like that. So the first thing that happens is that Candace and one of the daughters, I can't remember which one, are unpacking like in the kitchen or whatever, and they hear something in the cabinet like. So they go in there like, gee, I wonder what that is. So they open the door and then like you see like inside the cabinet cam and there's like a box of tea in there and there's a big ass fucking tarantula. Like, but it's like not paranormal, but it's still like kind of alarming, I guess. So there's a big ass tarantula. So obviously they're just like, holy fucking shit, there's a big ass tarantula. So they call the driver guy and he chases it with a shovel, which I thought was very funny. So he's just like chasing it through the house. So he's chasing the spider through the house and the spider is legit making like a lot of noise, like way more noise than a tarantula would actually make. Like it's almost
making vocalizations.
That's what I mean. It was like I'm like, I'm pretty sure tarantulas don't make
Spiders
that noise.
do not vocalize.
No, I'm pretty sure they don't. So I just thought that was funny that he was just like going around like with the shovel, like looking for this fucking spider. You know what I mean? So then finally he hears like, and he's just like, there you are, you motherfucker, and it's like up on the wall, and he's just like, pa-pow, and like he like hits it with the shovel. And then he comes down with the spider corpse or whatever, like in a big bag or a pillowcase or whatever. And then he tells the family, yeah, I got him. And then he says, oh, well, if we saw this one, then there's probably another one because spiders mate for life and they always travel in pairs. And I said, to me, that sounds like some bullshit right there. So I actually looked it up earlier today because I said that doesn't sound right. They don't. But well, because one of the reasons for that is because female tarantulas can live up to 25 years. Male tarantulas only live 7 or 8 years. Male tarantulas, when they're ready to mate, will go over to the female tarantula's house or her little burrow and will kind of like knock on her little web or door like, hey, sex please. And then like the female tarantula will open the door and be like, all right, I'll allow it. And then if she's hungry afterward, then she'll eat him.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of spiders do that.
So yeah, that's what I mean. So yeah, tarantulas aren't the only spiders that do that. But
it's not dude is not aware of this, what I'm talking about. Don't think that this is like, yeah, I'm gonna go over there and get this done and just let her eat me. That's not what it is. According to memory, if memory serves, the whole thing is kind of like when they insert their little packet in there, because they don't even copulate. He just pulls out his fucking packet of fucking seed and puts it up in there and fucking inserts it. And evidently, just the act
so it's
of
it's like putting a package in a mailbox.
Yeah, like putting a package in the mailbox. It's not real romantic, but they got the shit worked out to where that shit is so intense for the fucking the male spider that he's out of it. It's ringing his bell. He's like, oh shit, that was good. and so there's in a moment of weakness, she can make a move on him and kill him.
Yeah.
But she doesn't always do it.
No, she doesn't always.
She doesn't always do it.
Sometimes she's like, I will let you live.
Yeah, and then he snaps out of it and goes, oh, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And, mission accomplished, man. Let's get out. But,
package delivered.
Yeah, but I guess there's got to be some kind of a reward for the spider to put the package in the mail.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So
because otherwise, why would they do it? He's like, fuck that, I'm just going to stay home.
I'm just going to stay home.
I'm going to stay home and like order pizza and just hang out and watch Spider TV.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going over to that bitch's house. She might eat me.
So he just busts a nut by just putting it in there with his palm. And he's like, oh shit, that shit was so hot. God damn, did you see it? Did you see it? Oh man, he's losing it, Oh man, that was hot.
Please tell me that somebody makes tarantula porn somewhere. I'm sure somebody does. It's the internet.
He's taking a selfie while he's doing it.
Oh my god, I love it.
Get the angle right. You see it? And he's smiling in the camera while he's putting it. With what? And then he fucking loses it. Oh, on the camera.
Oh my god. That is like so fucking funny. I know. I got so distracted by the tarantulas. I actually quite like spiders, but I hate
those things.
I just thought the whole thing was so funny, like thinking about, because when he comes down and he's all authoritative, oh well, there's gonna be another one in the house because spiders travel in pairs. I'm like, you sir are mistaken. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, I'm gonna look that up though, so I did. Now I realize that there's lots of other species of tarantulas. I mean, a tarantula is not just one thing, but like you said, I had heard of other spiders. I'm like, usually the females eat the males, like a lot of times.
Yeah, the males are trying to get away though, and a lot of times they do get away.
Right. Yeah, they don't always, but
yeah,
that's kind of a pretty common thing.
It's just dangerous because they eat each other.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why the female spiders live much.
And the females
longer.
are usually bigger than the males, so they do probably go the other way around. If the male was bigger than the female, he'd probably impregnate her and then eat her too. They're spiders.
They're like, hey, free food.
But they've ensured that the male is smaller, so she
Sex
survives.
and a snack, all
Because if he
in
was
one.
bigger, the females would not survive and the species would vanish. So they made sure the males are smaller, so they can't eat the female, but the female can eat them.
Yeah. And sometimes she does. That's her
Yeah.
prerogative, man.
Yeah.
She's a spider. That goblin said, "Oh, good, I came in on tarantula porn."
Yeah, tarantulas eat.
Sorry. I mean, there are a lot of tarantulas in this episode, so we got distracted. And I mean, in our defense, they did bring it up with that whole mate for life thing, which, like I said, so I did look it up because that's not true.
As soon as they said that, I looked at Jenny and I was like, "That's true. That can't be."
I was like, I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Arthropods and insects aren't like that.
They don't usually do that kind of shit. I mean, some other animals do, but spiders, I don't think so. So yeah. So both of the daughters start school, and Dennis starts his new job. So Candace, as in many of these episodes, gets left alone in the house. Oh, those poor ladies, always left alone in the house while dad's at work and the kids are at school, and just always there alone. And I wrote in my notes, ooh, limo. I guess because they had that scene where it's like, oh, the kids are going to school, and they get in the back of a limo. I was like, oh, must be nice. Okay.
That's not really a big deal when you're working for a company.
Well,
overseas.
I know that, but I'm just saying that it's like, I mean, for me, it would be a big deal.
Usually what the deal is that they can't send the kids on public transportation because it's buses, and they stick out like a sore thumb. They'll rob them or fucking, hassle them. So they have to be driven to school. Some of these schools don't have school buses, so the company has a driver, and they drive the kids to school in a company car. That's usually how the shit goes down. Not really a chauffeur as you would know it. He's not at the beck and call at any moment. He's just on a schedule. There was a lot of that in Brazil.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not driving you to fucking Hooters, okay?
Right, it's not like that. It's just that they're going to make sure. They're just trying to keep the employees' families happy. Now you'd be like, well, that's a big expense. No, not in those countries. That dude's a minimum wage level, a little bit above minimum wage, actually. Because he has to have a driver's license. He'd probably think it's a pretty good job, but in U.S. dollars, a dude's probably making about $250 a week. That's probably, and which would you could live okay on that, But those big companies, no, that's nothing for them.
Well, no, I'm just saying that it's like, obviously the way I grew up, that's like a big deal because I didn't know anybody that had that kind of shit.
Yeah, when I went to high school in Brazil,
well,
they were all like that.
Well, I know you
pretty much, but my school had a bus, so most people just took the bus. We had a whole fleet of buses.
God, I hated the bus. I
love the bus, man.
I always made a fucking relative take me to school because
I love the bus.
I didn't want to go on the fucking bus.
That school bus was not a fucking. It wasn't a bus like a yellow school bus. It wasn't like that.
Well, yeah, that's.
It was like a tour bus. You know what I mean? Or like a Greyhound style bus with sliding windows, and we get in the back. We'd smoke weed or smoke cigarettes, listen to fucking headphones, and it was never really full. You know what I mean? They didn't have that many students each bus. It was fun. It was a party school.
Well, like I said,
it was a party school.
Other people didn't have that same experience.
Yeah.
So, not fun for the rest of us.
Oh, we loved it.
So yeah. So Candace, like I said, home by herself. Kids are at school. Dennis at work. So the first thing she said. Now, I guess this was kind of like a bigger deal than the way she described it. But she said that she's unpacking again, and she started seeing like weird flashes of light or like orbs of light like out of the corner of her vision. Like she keeps seeing this weird shit, and it's like it was weird enough, I guess, that she would see it and then she'd be like, what the fuck was that? And then like go into another room like to check out what it was, but there was never anything there. And she's like, and whenever I would turn to look at it, like it wasn't there. Like I said, so it sounds like it's not that big a deal, but she was acting like it was a big deal, so it must have been like pretty fucking weird. But it was like lights she was seeing. So she wasn't sure what to do, so she tried to call Dennis at work, but I guess, like, he wouldn't answer. And then she was like, fuck this, I'm not going to tell anybody about it, because maybe everybody will think I'm nuts or something. Now, a few nights after this, Marissa, she's the younger daughter, right? She was 12. So she's sitting at the dining room table, like, doing her homework or whatever. And she thinks that she sees somebody out the window, like, out in the yard, like walking by the window. So her sister Stacy comes down and she's like, hey, I'm pretty sure I just saw somebody out the window. And Stacy looks out there, but she doesn't see anybody. And then Marissa came on because they had both the daughters on there, like, they're grown, obviously, but they were both on there talking. And Marissa said that she, like her mom, she often saw things out of the corner of her eye. And couldn't really explain what they were, like weird lights or shadows or something like that. That was kind of like the first thing they saw. And also she said she heard kind of like weird noises, I suppose. So one thing they had to do because of the tarantula problem was that before you went to bed, I kind of related to this really hard because in some houses I grew up in, I was like, well, you always had to do like a cockroach check, like before you went to sleep. So that's what she did. She would do a spider check, like in her room, making sure there's no fucking tarantulas like under the pillow or anything like that. So at this stage, Stacy, who's the older daughter, she's in her room and she's like sitting in her bed, like reading a book or whatever. And she said that she started hearing footsteps walking into her room. She said she heard it very, very clearly as though somebody like creaking, like walking into her room, but obviously she didn't see anybody. And then she hears a voice whispering her name in her ear. And the way they had it, as I guess it was a male voice. I'm assuming that's what they did on the show. She didn't say that specifically. Oh, my phone's ringing. Shit, hopefully that's not anything like important.
I can't see the phone.
It's right there. What does it say on it?
I don't see anything.
It's right there. It's right there. Right there. Right there. Oh, well, I missed it. I missed it. I don't know who that was. I mean, it's kind of late, so I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. It's a local number, but I don't know who that is. Okay, so where was I? So yeah, so she hears footsteps like coming into her room, but doesn't see anybody. And then hears somebody whispering in her ear. Now, again, she doesn't tell anybody either, so I kind of feel like the mom and the daughters are experiencing things like separately, but didn't tell each other, which is kind of common on these episodes. They start, because you see or hear something like that, and they're just like, well, maybe it's just me. Like, maybe I'm losing my mind or something like that. So you don't tell anybody because they would think you were nuts or they wouldn't listen or something like that. So at this point, the rainy season in Taiwan has started again. And, like we figured before, the house leaks. So basically, water is just running down the fucking walls. And Candace, the real Candace, she says on there, well, the light switches in the house were not grounded. So basically, we had to have broom handles, like, all around so you could turn the lights on and off, like, from the switch. Because if you touch the switch, you would electrocute yourself. Because, like, the fucking walls are wet and nothing was grounded. So she's just like, you know what I mean? There's, like, fucking sparks everywhere, which is crazy. So she's basically like, this is such bullshit. I'm like, I agree that's bullshit. I mean, if that was the company was paying for that house or was like, giving you a deal on that house or something like that, like fix that shit. Holy crap. That's like unacceptable.
They got that shit on the slick. Probably. It's how the company got a great deal on it. It was crooked. I'm trying to bet.
Well, I mean, they did kind of go into that a little bit later. I don't know if any of the stuff they said about it was true or not, but you know what I mean? So at this point, the dad, the where's that raccoon guy, he's yelling at the mom and the daughters because their electric bill is $1,100
a month.
Yeah, like this month it was like $1,100, and he's like, "What the fuck? Where's that raccoon? Like, why is this $1,100?" And they're like, "Bro, we don't know." It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, talk to your company about fixing this fucking. We got water fucking running down our walls and like electrocuting us and stuff when we try to turn the lights on. So don't talk to us about an $1,100 electric bill, motherfucker. I'm just saying. So they don't really know. Like, apparently, no reason for it to be that high. So Dennis actually calls out an electrician. And the electrician, allegedly, finds an underground power leak, or suspects that there's an underground power leak. Now, what they said on the show, I don't know if this is true or not, but they said the house might have been built illegally, which, wow, building a whole entire mansion, like, illegally out in this, all right. I don't know how they got away with that, but
that's
I guess
not
they
how
did.
I interpret. Yeah.
They said it was built illegally and not properly connected to the grid. That's what they said on the show. I don't know what that means exactly.
I'm going to tell you what I think that means. I think what they meant is that the house was not built to code. That when they built the house, they bribed officials off to pass it, but it didn't pass any of the damn the codes, the construction codes. That's probably what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You can't illegally build a house.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, that was a weird way of putting it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, people wander by and be like, excuse me, what are
what's
you
that doing there? You have to own the land.
You can't put that there.
You got to hire contractors to come and build it. There's a bunch of stuff. But I think what they meant is that it was illegally approved of. In other words, it did not pass building inspection codes.
Yeah.
But they bribed everybody to get it to pass. That's what the deal was.
Well, I mean, clearly
shitty
that's
construction, shitty
probably
stuff.
what was going on, because it was like at the base of the mountain, and they said like every time it rained, because it's Taiwan has like a big long rainy season, and they're like the water would just come down the mountain and would just like come in the house.
It leaked, and it had shitty electrical system, and it not built to standard, not built to code.
Right.
But that's what they're talking about. Illegally built, that's kind of a stretch. It's not really a good way to put it.
That's what I mean. It was just funny the way that they phrased it that way, because I was like, that would be... It takes a while to build a house. I don't think you could keep it under wraps for that long. I'm just saying.
No, and then pawn it off onto people. You know what I mean?
Here,
big company. Here's a house. Buy this.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
Ben says, I live in Australia. Don't talk to me about your tiny benign house spiders. Right, yeah. Australia has all the things that want to kill you. So Stacy, the older daughter, is home alone a few nights later. And she sees the front door. Like I said, it kind of looks like the whole front of the house is glass. I don't know what the real one looked like. But this one kind of looked like a hotel lobby or like a bank lobby or something. But the front door opens by itself. And then stays open for a few minutes, and she's like, what the fuck? Like, she thought that her family had come back home or something like that, but nobody was there. So it just, stayed open for a few minutes, and then it closed by itself again. And then she's like, all right, fuck that noise, and, runs back to her room, which, understandable. So, yeah, so she's afraid, something bad might be going on. Now, because of that she suspected that the house might be haunted, so she had a boyfriend whose name, I think she said his name was Thomas. And so she just goes over his house all the time, just to get out of her house, because it's I guess she's alone all the, in the house a lot, and she just, doesn't like to be in there because it's fucking creepy. So she goes over there all the time. But one night, I guess she was over there, and then she came home, and then she's in the house by herself, and she's making sandwich, because I was trying to write fast. She's making sandwich. And she hears her name in her ear again, something's in the kitchen, fucking saying her name. So she's like, all right, fuck this. So she goes to her boyfriend's house again and tells him the whole fucking story. She's like, look, there's all this kind of creepy shit. There's some ghost saying my name and opening doors and whatnot, and I don't like it. Now, one particular night, him and I guess his dad drove them around.
Yeah, Jen's making this sound real lighthearted. She was fucking terrified though. She's walking around that creepy ass house, hearing this thing behind her call her name, and she turned around and was watching her. Now, I don't know what it was watching her, if it was watching her undress or something, but I think that's what they were alluding to. There was something in there stalking her like that. And then she told her boyfriend about it. And what did he do about it? He was a teenage boy at high school,
Yeah, I mean, well, at least he was supportive.
He was trying to help.
He wasn't,
there's a ghost in there? Fuck.
Yeah, he wasn't whatever.
It's getting rapey? Oh, shit.
So I was like, all right, good on you, bud. I don't know if that was what the real guy was like. Maybe the real guy was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Shut up and
I was
let me
under
look
the
at your
impression
titties.
that it was it had a fetish for foreign women.
Yeah.
They wanted some foreign
This
girls.
is a perverted ghost.
Perverted ghost. But
I kind of feel like maybe they all are. They're all watching you pee and stuff. Weirdos.
Now she said her name perfectly. So it didn't say it with an accent or anything.
Yeah, because I was like, why is that ghost speaking English?
Yeah. Did it speak English?
I don't know.
I don't think she.
It really only just said their names.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think it just said their names.
So.
But I don't see why a ghost would have to learn your language. It would probably understand what you were thinking through telepathy, and just give you, because it could feel and read your mind, and then just instantly make a reply in your own language. Probably it wouldn't have to learn your language. It would do it automatically, probably.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that would be pretty lame if like ghosts could only speak the language.
Yeah, like I can't speak a language, so I'm gonna, I can't haunt
it's
you.
It's like
right.
what? I can't haunt you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like something you hear like voice in your ears, like, what are you saying? I don't understand you.
Or it would send you a telepathic message so strong you thought you heard it, and you thought you heard it and understood it in English. You know.
Yeah.
But the English would be generated by you, actually. That'd be one way where you could do it.
But yeah, so one particular night, they drop Stacy back off at home. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the boyfriend's dad like drove him around. So he went and dropped her off at the house. And she goes back in the house. There's nobody else home but her. And then when Thomas and the dad are like pulling out of the driveway, Thomas happens to like look back toward the house, and he sees what appears to be a woman standing on the roof of the house. Like, on the reenactment, they showed her, like, looking all ghosty and shit. But it's like, I don't know if they didn't have him on the show, so I don't know what he actually saw. But apparently he saw something that looked like a woman standing on the roof, and he thought it was Stacy's mom. He thought it was Candace. Like, what the fuck is she doing up there?
Yeah.
Because as soon as he got home, he called her and was like, hey, you might want to go check on your mom, because I saw a woman that kind of looked like your mom, like, standing up on the roof of the house, like, in her nightgown or some shit. And then it's like, maybe it's weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what was weird is that when they showed it in the episode, it didn't look like she was standing on top of the house. It looked like she was standing on top of a fence, didn't it? Or a wall.
I couldn't really tell. It just kind of looked like part of the roof or something.
Yeah.
I thought that she was, like, standing up there. Now, meanwhile, like, before he calls, though, like, while he's still on the way home, like, Stacy goes in the house, and it's super quiet in there, and she's like, yeah, she doesn't think anybody's home. And then when she goes in her room, like, somebody says her name, like, in her ear again, and then she hears, like, it sounded like chittering sounds. It kind of sounded like the noises that they were using for the spiders earlier. And then there's a phone jump scare, like, the phone rings really loud, and everybody's like, oh my god, you know what I mean? But it's just her boyfriend calling, being like, hey, check on your mom, I'm pretty sure I saw her standing on the roof, which is, like, weird as fuck.
She comments in the episode that it was bizarre that it could. Didn't she say it could open a door and walk right up to you? You couldn't see it, and it would say your name just out of the right out of the air, and it was like just as plain as day. Yeah.
Yeah, she said it would say a name. Well, she said that it would say her name like just in her ear or like from across the room or something like that.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that would be pretty creepy. Like, yeah, if I was just, like, sitting in here and somebody said my name in my ear, I'd probably shit my pants, you know what I mean?
You know, that poltergeist tried to speak that one time, but I couldn't understand what it said. It was just gibberish. That was weird. I nearly jumped out of my skin, fucking jumped up out of the bed and ran from it. It was weird. Talk about it in the book.
Zach said, does Stacy's mom got it going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah, they were all cute.
No, that's a song.
They were, I don't know.
All right. So Stacy is in the house, not sure if anybody's in there. So she keeps calling to her mom, like, hey mom, like nobody, but mom doesn't answer, right?
Yeah.
So then she goes into mom's bedroom. It's actually like a pretty creepy sequence, you know what I mean? And she goes in there and she's like, oh my God, like opens the door. But then like her mom's just sitting on the bed and she's totally fine. Like she's just sitting there in her jammies or whatever. And she's just like sitting there reading a book or whatever. So she's like, what the fuck, mom? Like, didn't you hear me calling you? She's like, I've been calling you all throughout the house. But her mom said that she didn't hear her calling. So I was like, I don't know if that was like some kind of a paranormal thing too, where like the ghost was muffling the sound or some shit. So she goes and like calls her boyfriend back and says, yeah, her mom's fine. You know what I mean? She's just sitting here and she doesn't have any idea what the hell is going on. So at this point, Stacy sits down with her mom and tells her about all of the shit that she's been experiencing, the voices and the door opening and closing and all that kind of stuff. And at this point, Candace, the mom, she says, you know, somebody's been saying my name in my ear too. And like, so they hadn't like been telling each other, like I said,
going after all the women.
Right. They hadn't really been, like I said, these fucking perverted ghosts, man.
It's all perverted, man.
Bad enough they're perverted when they're alive, and you can't even get rid of them when they're dead, and you can't even fucking see them. Like I said, they're watching you pee and all kind of crap.
Just this evil spirit trying to have his way with these women.
Piss off, ghosts.
And then you're just this helpless dude in your house, and you can't defend your own women against this thing. Imagine that. But what's funny is that the husband doesn't seem to believe in it.
Yeah, and this is another case where, like, the husband seems like he's never there.
Yeah, he kind of like, well, okay. You know, that's he doesn't really believe.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of said, I don't think he necessarily disbelieved us because all of them were saying the same thing, and they were all clearly very upset. Yeah. But it's like he didn't really know, like, he wasn't there, he didn't experience anything.
He couldn't do anything with it.
He couldn't really do anything about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's just like, well, I don't know. Like, I got a job to do. I got work to do. Don't concern me with your petty little problems. I got money to make, you know what I mean?
Ed Dunham from Haunting in Florida, who I know him. He's on my He's on my friends list. Fucking met him a couple times. Talked to him on the phone. Ex-Army Ranger. He said it drove him up the fucking wall that he couldn't defend his wife and his family against this thing. And he just saw it a couple times. Dude sitting there on the corner of the bed, fucking, he said he looked fucking bluish, fucking smoking his cigarette, just staring at him. He was wet. He was like he'd been doused in water, you know, like he'd been outside or something. And he said it was a very uncomfortable feeling. I can kind of relate to it, but I was a kid, so I didn't feel like I had when I saw the poltergeist thing. So I didn't feel like it was my responsibility to protect anybody. You know what I mean? But I could understand how a grown man would feel the kind of the responsibility to protect his family, but there's just no way.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before, but on several episodes of A Haunting, like, the guys seemed particularly upset about it because when they finally, because a lot of times they won't see anything for a long time, so they'll just be like, oh, would you ladies shut up? Like, what the hell are you even talking about? Like, when the women try to, like, tell them what's going on, but then when they finally see it, then they, like, lose their shit. Like, they're just like, holy shit, they can't even deal with it, and then, like, the women are just like, yeah, duh, we've been telling you this the whole time, like, you just didn't listen. But then, like, they kind of, like, flip out, and I think even one of them said this directly, that it's like, well, you can't punch it.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of like the only thing they can think of to do. It's like you can't like knock a ghost the fuck out.
Well, Ed said that.
Yeah, that's what I saw somebody else on another episode said that same thing. So they don't know what to do. They're like, well, if I can't punch it, then I'm out of ideas. You know what I mean? It's pretty much that. So she does. So they do like tell Dennis, the dad, about it, and like I said, she said it wasn't like he thought that they were lying, but it's just that he hadn't experienced it, so he was just like, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, I can't really tell my boss, oh, well, we have to move out of this company house because it's haunted. It's like everyone, you know, I think he was afraid like people were going to laugh at him or something like that. So Candace actually is like, well, all right, well, I'll take this into my own hands then. So she starts like researching the paranormal, and she's like, maybe if we like ignore it, like it'll go away, because I feel like a lot of like priests and shit like that have been on A Haunting have said that too. It's like, don't give it any energy, so just kind of pretend it's not happening, which is, you know, easier said than done, obviously. So Marissa, the younger daughter, she's home alone one night. Like, mom and dad are at a neighbor's house, like for a party or something, and Stacy is over at her boyfriend's house. Now, while Marissa is home, the front door opens by itself again. Marissa's in her room, and she hears noises downstairs like her parents or her sister has come home, because she's down there being like, hey, you guys come back, did you forget something, or some shit like that. But she goes down there and obviously nobody's there, so she gets like really freaked out, and then she runs back in her room and locks herself in there, at which point the doorknob of her door, like, she locks it, but it starts rattling, and then the door like busts open, and then something like comes in and puts white contact lenses in her eyeballs.
She said it entered her.
Yeah, this is what we were trying, because we were sitting there watching this episode, and I'm just like, and we're like, well, does she mean that like in the biblical way, like,
or in a spiritual way? And then she's acting like she's been victimized for a couple of days, you know, eating the cereal real slow, and everybody's like, it's gonna be okay. I didn't know if they were trying.
And like, she didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were trying to say that she had been sexually assaulted by the spirits.
I mean, they used the word attacked on the on the reenactment, they just had, like I said, the door rattled, then it opened by itself, and then they just showed her going like, "Pah," like that, and then like she came up and like her eyes were all white.
Right.
So
it was a good effect, but they didn't never say that. Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it was like they left it very ambiguous, like what exactly happened.
Yeah.
She basically said, like the real woman, she said she used the word something pushed her or pushed into her. And then went inside her body. That's what she said.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she meant like a rapey kind of way, or if it just like went like took over like a possession kind of way. You know what I mean?
I think it was a rapey kind of way.
It said it knocked her. Oh, she said it knocked her over.
Knocked her over and mounted her. I think that's how I interpreted it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it could mean a lot of things, but
then
yeah.
Afterwards, the way the mom was acting and the way they're showing her, you know what I mean, is that it's like it raped her.
Yeah, and they said that she really, really did not want to talk about it. Because she's just like, yeah, I'm fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they were kind of like, yeah. So, at this point, Candace is starting to get really worried because she's like, look, this shit is, like, attacking my kids, and that's not cool. So, she calls up a journalist friend of hers who knew some some Taoist priest because he had been like writing all about that.
And this is the great part. Whenever you see the Taoist priest in this episode, they play the flute music. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah. Eastern flute music. Eastern spiritual flute music. Every time he comes on, it's fucking classic, man.
That's his theme song.
It's classic. Woo, 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 woo.
He has his own theme music when he comes in to like deal with the spiritual world.
Yeah.
He's at. I wish I had my own theme music when I walked in somewhere. That'd be rad. But yeah, so they bring this priest over that this other guy knows. And the priest talks about, he doesn't use the term feng shui, but I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's saying the feng shui of this house is all fucked up.
Yeah, he doesn't say that, but I think that's what he meant.
Yeah.
I think that's what he meant.
That's how a Westerner would understand it.
That's what I mean. Because basically...
the mojo of this house is all fucked up.
Right. Well, because he's like, look, all this water that's happening in here, this is like bringing in all the negative energy. And he said, apparently, according to them, no Chinese architect would build a house like this unless they wanted to curse everyone that was in it. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And then they had Candace, the real woman, and she took it up another notch of drama. And she's like, basically, she said they built this house to kill us. Yeah. And I was like, let's dial that back. Let's dial that back a notch. That's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody built this house specifically to kill you.
My more rational interpretation of the testimony is this: whoever built the house didn't know anything about feng shui. Right. And the priest showed up and says, "Oh man, the feng shui of this house is all fucked up."
Oh,
you know,
who did this?
He said, "No Chinese feng shui artist would fucking ever make a house shaped like this. It's filtering the negative energy in through here and doing this, and it's just concentrating, and it's all bearing down on you. This house will fuck you up." And look, they even cheaped out on the fucking electrical system.
Well, yeah, which doesn't have anything to do with ghosts, honestly. That really needed to be addressed.
It's a good story. I think feng shui might have more to do with just how you feel at the moment. It's probably, the flow.
Well, because they've done tests where they had different feng shui experts come in and be like, and everybody says something different. Yeah. Because it's like whenever...
Psychics.
Well, everybody's experience is subjective. It's like, I could walk in a house and be like, hey, this is pretty awesome. And like another person could walk in and be like, ooh, I don't like this. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's very subjective, like how you feel at the time. Yeah. And I kind of feel like feng shui is probably the same thing. It's like, it's whether you vibe with the place or not. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not supernatural. But yeah, he's just saying, well, no Chinese person would have built a house like this because it's like super fucked up. And, it's basically was built to kill people. I guess. So then he talks to them about, as we were mentioning earlier, quote unquote hungry ghosts hanging around because they still want energy and stuff from the living, or they're mad that they're dead and still want to enjoy things that they enjoyed when they were alive, like food and money and whatnot. So he apparently has a vision of two bodies buried on the property that had died a violent death, and these were the hungry ghosts in question. So he basically says, well, we need to do a ritual because your youngest daughter, Marissa, is being used by these hungry ghosts like as an energy source. That's what they said. So then, like many of the priests in many of the other episodes, it's like, well, I need to, like, gather my strength for this. I can't just, like, do an exorcism thing willy-nilly. I gotta go and do fasting and whatever the hell it is they do. Well, they gotta prepare.
He's gotta juice up.
He's gotta juice up for the shit. Yeah, power up.
You heard that. When he said that, I was like, okay, he's probably the real thing. Because I gotta power up. That one time I wanted to show Jen the poltergeist. That took several months for phenomenon to fucking.
But you weren't powering up on purpose, like it just.
Well,
I mean, I don't think you weren't really thinking about it.
I was sliding sideways with it.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't believe so?
Well, no, I'm just saying that I didn't think that you were like specifically like getting ready for it, like the way a priest would.
No, but you could though. You could.
Yeah, well, he's psyching himself up. So he's like, well, it's it's going to take a few days because I got some shit to do.
If I were to sit there and psych myself up and bring in a lot of fear, like I'm terrified constantly, make myself afraid that it's going to be here, it would eventually come. It'll start up. And then one phenomenon happens which reinforces it, and it goes, you saw how it was.
Yeah.
Once you get the ball rolling, it continues it gets easier.
So they said that the priest that came in there, that he actually seemed afraid for the family. So he's like, I'm going to go power up and, like, I'll be back in a few days to do the ritual and hopefully get rid of these ghosts or whatever. Now, the driver, Ah-Chung?
It doesn't matter.
So, I mean, I'm sure it matters to him. It's his fucking name, isn't it?
Yeah, but
yeah, I'm just saying. So the driver guy,
he's in Taiwan.
How do we know? We don't know. So he's the driver. So they ask him about, well, do you know anything about this property or anything? And he said, I heard that where this house is now, like prior to that there was a pig farm on this land, and the pig farm burned down and killed the couple that lived on the farm. Which maybe is the whole, like, yeah, I saw two bodies type situation, and these are the hungry ghosts that are coming in there and, like, terrorizing
and raping people,
which not cool. Okay, just saying. I feel bad, like, just blaming it on the farmers. They're like, look, we just died in a fire. Jesus Christ, we're not raping people from beyond the grave. Piss off. So it's that. So Candace is like, once they find this out, she's like, I really want to move. Like, I don't want to live here anymore. And Dennis is like, yeah, well, I got to go on a business trip. I'm not concerned about all your ghost danger. You know what I mean? I've read it really big. I'm not concerned about your ghost danger. Because we were, like, laughing about that because he was just he wasn't an asshole. Like, because some of the dudes, like, on this show, are real cunty. Like, when it comes to kind of, like, it's like, what's
ghosts and shit.
Right.
They make fun of you and shit.
Right. And so this guy wasn't that bad, but he was pretty dismissive, though. He's like, look, I got shit to do. I don't have time to deal with this right now. Yeah, it's probably bad and shit like that, but, I got a business trip. You just sort that shit out. It was kind of like that kind of situation.
I was under the impression that he thought of it as, like, new agey girl stuff. He doesn't have anything to do with that. That's like that. Yeah, you take care of the ghost.
He did seem like very dudely.
Yeah, that's some shit girls are into.
Like,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh, that has to do with, like, emotions and, like, things that aren't concrete. And so he's like, I don't have any patience for that kind of stuff. But yeah, he definitely did come across.
Yeah, I can't do anything about that.
Like I said, he didn't, like, the real guy, because he was on there. So I guess he did come around to it later on, because he did get interviewed for the show.
He seemed to have believed something was going on there, but he didn't see it.
Right. He did think something was going on. So he wasn't as bad as, like, some of the people that have been on there. That, like, but he did seem very, very straight-laced, and he did seem very, like, I don't know. It's like he didn't know what to do. It's like, I don't know how to deal with anything that's not this kind of thing.
Business.
That's not very straightforward. He's just, like, very,
he was a
very
suit,
much. Yeah. He came across very much like that. So he's on a business trip. So Mom and the girls are in the house by themselves. They start all sleeping in the same room with a knife and a bat and all that other kind of stuff, which I don't know how useful that would be against a ghost. But
I don't blame her.
I don't blame her because
just make you feel better.
Yeah, what the fuck else are you gonna do, right?
Yeah,
because that's what I was thinking.
Did that in a bad house. Fucking sleeping in my fucking
knock that ghost block off. Pow.
Sleeping in my fucking Ruger GP100 fucking in my hand. afraid that thing was gonna fucking come get me. It never did, though. It wasn't just me.
Would you have tried to shoot the ghost if it came at you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I wonder what would have happened.
It just went through it.
You might have just made it mad.
Well, the sound and the noise and everything would have made me feel better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I was taking action.
Yeah, I kind of feel like
kind
that's
of like
the situation.
a holy totem or something, like putting up a cross just to make you feel better.
Right. Yeah, it might not do jack shit.
No.
It probably won't. But
focus your psychic force at the thing. Fuck off me, bitch, and it would probably go away because you're believing in it. You know, you're believing that it's gonna go.
Yeah,
away.
maybe that's what it is.
Right.
So then the show does a little bit. This is a little bit of a cheat, I feel like, but they do this a lot on the show. So they have this whole setup. They're all sleeping in the same bed, like when they got the knife and the bat and all that other kind of stuff. And then they're in the mom's bedroom, and the doorknob starts rattling, and like they hear the floor creaking, like there's somebody outside in the hall, like trying to get into the room. So, the girls wake up and are like, "Mom, that's like there's somebody outside." She's like, "Yeah, I hear it." So she grabs the fucking butcher knife and she's like, "I'm gonna take care of this fucking situation." So she goes over to the door very, very, very slowly, and then she opens the door real quick, and it's Dad. But she stabs him in the fucking stomach, like, pow! And I was just like, holy shit! And then, like, they show that it was a dream that one of the girls was having. Like, so the girl, I think it was, like, Marissa, the younger one, and she woke up and she was like, oh my god, like, I dreamed that you killed Dad and all this other kind of stuff. And I was like, okay. But yeah, so that was, like, a little bit, I don't know, that was a little bit of a cheat, like I said. Because I even wrote down, psych, it's a dream. So Dennis doesn't get stabbed. But, one of the girls dreamed that Mom stabbed Dad, so might have been some other issues going on there. So Dennis comes home and he agrees to have the priest come and do the whole thing. So this also kind of made me laugh because the mom and dad are sleeping. I don't know what time it was supposed to be, but they were both asleep, so I'm assuming it was like, midnight or something. Phone rings and they're all like waking up. They're like, what the fuck? And it's like the priest. I gotta come over and do the shit right now. Like, I guess he's at maximum power up. I'm like,
maximum power.
I'm like, bitch, are you calling me at 2:00 in the morning to come exercise my house right now? Can you wait till the morning? I'll even make you some bacon. Come on.
So now I gotta blow this wad right now. Ready.
I was like, that's very obnoxious. Don't be like calling people in the middle of the night. I don't care if there is a haunting. Yeah. Don't be calling me at 2 in the fucking morning and say, oh, I have to do it right now. No, you don't. You don't.
Well, he had done something else. Didn't he have he had some other paranormal, not some other occult thing had happened, and he was coming off of a fucking high. Isn't that what it was?
It was a funeral.
A funeral had happened.
He had done a funeral earlier that day for like a very powerful individual. So he was feeling all the good mojo from that. And he's like, okay, well, all the good mojo is built up, so I have to come over like right now. And I'd be like, I think I'd be a little upset if somebody called me at 2 in the morning and said that. I was like, I don't think so, man.
You had to go in there with maximum positivity. This is a good part of the episode, though, man.
Yeah. It's a fun episode. I was just that occurred to me. I was like, yeah, you don't ever call me in the middle of the night unless somebody's dead. Yeah. Seriously, that's fucked up.
He goes in there and they do the Far East music and everything, and he's dispelling the evil and driving it out. He's in his Taoist priest outfit. It's pretty slick. They're observing, the whole family, including the guy, observe some paranormal phenomenon. Lights dimming and stuff while he was walking into rooms, and it sounded legit to me, man. I wish I was there to see it.
Yeah, I mean, the priest comes over and he's basically like, okay, well, we're gonna do the thing, and he's like, we have to open all the doors, like, to give the spirits free movement or whatever. Yeah. And then he brings food and money and all that kind of stuff. I think he actually did bring a pineapple. There was one in the box. That's why I was laughing at. Like, bring the ghost a pineapple.
Yeah.
But pineapples are good.
Yeah.
That's fair. And he lights incense and stuff. And like I said, he said he'd had like a funeral for the guy earlier, and that was like all that. So at this point, like I said, there had to have been some kind of like paranormal activity because the dad, who didn't believe in this shit before, he actually did allow himself to be interviewed like on the show, the real guy. So, and he said there was definitely like some shit going on, like when the priest was doing the ritual, like things, they said that shit started like moving around.
Yeah. Did he give any details? Did he?
Well, they basically said, well, their hair was blowing and their clothes were blowing. I was like, well, was that because all the windows and doors were open, or you know what I mean? It could have been that. But they said they felt like things were moving through them. Maybe I think like one of them said that.
They said the lights would dim when he would walk into a room.
Yeah, they said it was very physical, whatever it was that happened. That was pretty much all they said. And at this point, like, the priest tells Stacy, the 16-year-old, you have to take these offerings, like the food and money and stuff, out to this grave site where supposedly these 2 bodies are buried, out in the backyard. And she's like, why the fuck I gotta do that? And she's like, no, you just have to do it. That's just the rules. Yeah. You know, just be brave. Don't be a pussy. Like, go out there and do it, right? So take the basket out there. She's in her jammies and everything. So she takes this basket outside... And she hears somebody calling her name, like, from all around, like, in the woods and stuff. And she's just like, here goes, bye. And then she, like, runs back in the fucking house. You know what I mean? Puts the basket there. Now, the priest, like, they said he went to every room and he, like, prayed in each corner of every room. And the lights dimmed, like you said, like, every time that he went into the room and, like, did his thing. And then, like, at this point, like, the dad, Dennis, he was like, well, we thought that the priest came in and did the thing, and then it was going to be over, and it's like, oh, yay, we can, like, live in the house, and it'll be normal now. But then the priest tells them, it's like, oh, well, this should hold you over for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. But I would still advise moving the fuck out of here, because this is, like, not a good situation.
Yeah, so we can live here now, right? He's like, oh, no.
No,
I just bought you some time. You got to go.
Yeah, he's like, this is not a good place to stay. Yeah. He's like, it'll probably be better for a couple months, but I would advise getting out of here, which, you know, fair enough. So, yeah.
I find all this stuff interesting. First of all, the claims of the case are not all that extraordinary. There isn't any real fucking outlandish reports of fucking, phenomenon.
Nobody saw any demons. Nobody saw
none of that.
Like that. No.
They did see physical phenomena of the fucking lights dimming. They reported fucking sexual assaults, I guess, voices, and in the end, the Taoist priest didn't come in as the hero to prove the validity of the church per se, like in a lot of the other stories. He's like, no, you got to go.
Yeah,
you know, if I bought you some time. You know, you're kind of in good standing with them for right now, but that should wear off. You got to go. Which that kind of matches up with what I would say would be more likely, having dealt with shit like this before. No real permanent solutions. Things kind of fade away, but that was a bad house. You couldn't stay there. If what they're saying is true, wishing it away or praying it away wouldn't work. You're dealing with something that's got amazing willpower, you know, and it's in another dimension. So you're not gonna be able to talk it away.
Well, I liked that the priest was very realistic about that.
Yeah.
He's basically like, well, I didn't fix it.
Yeah, I just bought you some time.
But
I placated it for a while.
He's like, I think you should get out of here. Because it's like, it's not good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and apparently the family did take it seriously because they said as soon as Stacy graduated from high school, the mom and the daughters moved out. I don't know. They didn't really say if the dad stayed.
Yeah, they basically make you think that he stayed there.
I mean, I thought that was the implication because they just said the mom and the daughters moved out.
But he wouldn't have been there for very long. I think, what was it, 6 months?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So maybe he found another place, like, afterward. I don't know if he remained, like, living in Taiwan.
Because it was a company house. They didn't have to pay rent there, probably.
Yeah.
You just had to pay utilities. And it was like $1,000 a month for the electricity that 1 month. That might have been because water was leaking and it was shorting out into the ground, or
Yeah.
So when it was dry, that probably didn't happen because it evidently wasn't wired right. So no, I was left with the impression that they left and he stayed there for about another 6 months.
Yeah, until maybe whatever,
until his job was over.
His job was over, until they could get him like more different accommodations or something like that.
I think he went back home. Didn't they say he went back home? I think his job was over. It was like a contract.
I don't know if they said that though. But like I said, they hadn't come from the U.S. They came from Tokyo.
Yeah.
They had lived in Tokyo prior.
But they went back to the U.S.
Yeah, I think. Well, the mom and the daughters did for sure. But it's like I was assuming they were still like married or whatever because they were all on the show. Like it wasn't like, you know what I mean?
I was left with the impression that she said that he would have to be there about 6 months, and then they would meet up with him later.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember them saying that, but I mean, they might have, but I didn't write it down.
Okay.
And usually, if they'd have said that, I probably would have written it down.
Because I remember, it was like that dude stayed there by himself, but he didn't seem to have anything to report. But they had the ritual, so maybe that got rid of it for a while.
Yeah, and he was just like, oh, it's totally normal in here. And then he moved out, and nobody said anything about it. And like I said, there's not really any I couldn't really find any outside supplemental material about this case, so it's not like somebody else moved into that house later and was like, holy shit, there's like fucking ghosts and tarantulas and shit like all over the place, you know what I mean? Ghost tarantulas even, maybe. So I don't really know, but so this was a fun episode. I think this was the reason that I always liked this episode, was because so many of the episodes, you know, are good, but a lot of them are very samey. And this was kind of one of the very few that was set in a different culture with like a different mythology and like a different way of coming at it. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I kind of wish they had done that more, to be honest with you. They did do it like did do it more like on later episodes, but then it just got silly. You know what I mean? Like this one was.
But they're running out of cases. The cases are
right. So now they're just kind of having to
scraping the bottom of the barrel with cases.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess we've been going for an hour and 22 minutes.
Yep.
So I guess we better wrap it up because I gotta start my job tomorrow. Yeah. So I gotta get up real early.
What time you get up tomorrow?
Probably 5:45, I'd imagine.
All right.
Because I probably have to leave here about 6:45.
All right.
So I can get there in time. So we are actually going to do a movie review tomorrow, and it's going to be Gattaca, because we watched Gattaca last night.
Great flick.
But
I haven't seen it, see it.
Yeah, but it's going to be later. I'm thinking maybe 7:30, something like that, because I probably won't be home until 6 something.
Gattaca, Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman and Jude Law.
Yeah.
It's a good science fiction movie.
From the 90s. I had forgotten how old that movie was.
Classy science fiction movie.
It is very classy.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll be talking about that tomorrow. But like I said, it'll be later than usual because I won't be home in time to do it. So it'll probably be like much later in the evening. But we are still going to do it, and we already watched it, and I already got notes for it and everything like that. So hopefully you'll be able to drop by and see us for that. Thank you, everybody, for dropping by today. Remember to like and share and do all that kind of stuff because it helps with the little YouTube algorithm. And we will see you guys again tomorrow night. Good night.